Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Shahid. Today is the 26th of August 2025 and the days keep on passing very quickly, but every day brings on new stories, new events and new changes in the global scenario, and that is what we are here to discuss today as well. Our first story concerns the NDMA that has warned of increased flood risks and rapid glacier melting in different areas of Pakistan, especially in the north, and this is extremely worrisome in the current context. And we'll be talking about and also adding about the different modalities of the current situation, whether it be the warnings, whether it be the different measures that the government has taken, and whether it be the different events that have occurred across Pakistan with the number of casualties, with the number of damages to the infrastructure, cattle, and the disease also that is spreading, waterborne diseases as a result of these floods and excessive rains. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the atrocities in Gaza as we speak. Now, 300 hunger-related deaths have been registered in Gaza since the last few weeks. I mean, if this doesn't raise an eyebrow amongst all the so-called important humanity and humane countries and civilizations across the world, I don't know what will. This adds to the plight of the people of Gaza who are denied the basic necessities of life and are being butchered left, right and center, and are being pushed from one part of Gaza to the south so that the Israeli forces can occupy the northern part of Gaza. This adds to their also E1 settlement program in the occupied West Bank, and which many countries have raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of journalists also are being killed left, right and center. So are aid workers, so are teachers, so are children. I mean, there is no demarcation on who should be killed and who shouldn't. In fact, whoever is in front is being killed, and that is why one leading journalist from Reuters has also now posed her resignation. Although we don't have any official confirmation but from Reuters, but this is what she has officially said, and we'll be adding that to our second segment as well. Our third story concerns the US that has imposed 50% of tariffs on Indian imports under Trump's executive order, and this executive order starts from tomorrow, is effective from tomorrow. A lot of developments there as well. India is really reeling under the impact. A lot of people are saying, how will we be paying our workers if the tariffs increase from 25%, already 25% to 50%? Will the Indian government relent or will it not? This is another major question that we'll try to understand during our third story. Our fourth story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Pakistan that is going to exhibit the historical artifacts at the SCO summit in Tianjin, China, that is going to be held just in a few days' time. Our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Sahib is also going to be there. Many important historical artifacts from Pakistan will be displayed there, amongst other countries who are also displaying the historical artifacts. Next, we'll be talking about more polio cases that have been now unearthed in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The number of total cases in 2025 of poliomyelitis have now risen to 23, as 2 new polio cases have been found in KPK amongst children. So many efforts are being made by the government, but it's more important for the families, for the parents now to react strongly and to have all of their children under the age of 5 to have them administer the polio drops. Finally, we're going to talk about Elon Musk. Yes, Elon Musk, the one who owns X, formerly Twitter, who has now sued Apple and OpenAI over monopoly claims. He says that there's a deliberate effort from Apple and OpenAI to undermine his own AI system that is known as Grok. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first story. Concerns the NDMA, its warning as far as the glacier melting and so many other eventualities that are happening as a result of the monsoon rains, excessive monsoon rains that have hit the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region, Gilgit-Baltistan region, Punjab region extremely hard. We have been joined by Sherazi, who is a climate expert, right here with us in the studios, and we also will be joined by Dr. Shahid, who is the CEO of RBDC Pakistan. Let's begin with you, Sherazi sir. Thank you very much to have joined us, and we've discussed the situation as a result of the rains many a times, not now. We've also did it a few years back, and we've been constantly talking about climate change. But let's begin with the glaciers, Glof, that we have also talked a couple of days back. 45% of the glaciers in Pakistan are melting. This is what the NDMA has warned. How urgent is the need for a long-time climate adaptation when it comes to Pakistan, and policies that revolve around this climate adaptation to prevent future large-scale disasters?
Well, many thanks indeed, Batsab, for having me in your show. Well, we'll have to understand the situation first, that Pakistan has been termed as the third pole, since it has been having the largest number of glaciers in the world after two poles. That is about 13,000 glaciers are there in this region. And with the global warming, while we know that the global average temperature are increasing, there is an increased chance and there is an increased pace with which the glaciers are melting. How do the glacier serve? The glacier serves for reserves and banks of fresh water in the world, and we see that the glacial lake outburst floods are now increasingly happening in Pakistan.
We saw so many videos that recently came on social media, so many people posting those.
Yeah.
I don't know, you remember the three shepherds who saved hundreds of lives very recently.
That is very important, that the early warning has saved whole village from precious life losses. So we'll have to understand that the glaciers are melting. It's a reality, it's a concrete reality in front of us. But we'll have to understand that there is no single local solution to this. So long the global temperature will keep on increasing, so long would we be observing the glacial melting not only in Pakistan but in two poles of the world as well. And the pure clean drinking or the fresh water reserves would be depleting, which would be again a very massive loss to not only the globe but to the humanity itself.
I totally agree with you on that, but the fact is, Sherazi, if I understand well what you're trying to say, you're trying to say that this is, I mean, Pakistan can do as many mitigation policies as possible, but until and unless this rise in temperature is not controlled, and that too globally, Pakistan will keep on suffering. Is that what you're trying to say?
This is the case, because the emissions in one part of the world are not necessarily to only affecting the local.
We have to come back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and we've also been joined by Dr. Shahid, who's the CEO of RBDC Pakistan. He joins us all the way from the United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Dr. Shahid, to have joined us. Dr. Shahid, I'd like to understand, in the global context, how can Pakistan push the global climate justice agenda to secure loss and damage financing from industrialized nations that are also the primary emitters of greenhouse gases that lead countries like Pakistan to the state in which we are presently?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this forum. I think this question is very important for us. We always talk in different platforms that Pakistan is one of the most climate change affected countries. And we have a lot to share, that what we as a nation are also contributing towards addressing climate change phenomena. We are following sustainable agricultural practices. There are a lot more less pollutant than the industrial agriculture followed in Europe and in other developed countries. So we should be pushing them to just reduce the reduction, addition of greenhouse gases, and not to buy the carbon credits. Buying carbon credits and then keep polluting will not be a good long-term solution to the present problem. So we should be insisting, pushing that all the countries should join together, because it's a global phenomenon. No single country can fight it out. So we will have to join hands and make some collective efforts. For that, it's a more organized campaign, joining hands with other developing countries, and in different platforms we need to push for climate justice financing. But we also need to adjust our resource allocation and then give it a priority, that we not just be sort of be managing the floods, managing the sort of water when it's too much flow in the rivers and in the cities. But we also need to develop a long-term strategy to manage our water resources. And flood water should be stored, diverted to the dry areas, and then using the Ravi, Satluj, and Byas, their river beds as storage places. And then we also be able to divert water from one area to the other in case we are facing some serious risks of floods. So, in one way,
I understand where you're coming from, Dr. Shahid. It's very important, and I think this was an important question that I wanted to ask you under the current circumstances, because of all the COPs that Pakistan has gone to, but hasn't received the response that it should, because it is ultimately the responsibility of the industrialized nations, those that are carbon emitters, those that result in climate change, those that because of whom we are in the state that we are in. I'd like to also now come to you, Waqar Sherazi Sahab, and understand. We just heard the talk by our Federal Minister for Information, our Federal Minister for Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, as well as the Chairman NDMA, and they talked about the different efforts that were made by the NDMA. But the Minister for Environmental Coordination and Climate Change also talked about how instructions had been given by the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif for all the federating units to go into the different provinces and help them to achieve clean water, because it's a huge problem with clean water in the provinces because of the rains and the waterborne diseases that the people are being affected with, and of course help them in whichever capacity they can. How do you see the role of the federal government under these circumstances post these excessive rains and the damage they have caused?
Well, I believe that federal government is face of the state itself, and the gesture that has been given by the federal government working hand in glove with the provincial entities to support the people in trouble is a commendable effort by the federal government, which should be certainly appreciated by all nooks and corners, that the federal government, despite being the 18th amendment that all these subjects are now provincial subjects, but federal government is coming step forward to help the provincial government, not in terms of rescuing the people, but in terms of providing the medical assistance, in providing the non-food items and food items and relief activities. But besides that, we'll also have to understand that despite this positive gesture by the federal government, I think we'll have to think that the provincial governments and the local governments will have to enhance their capacity to immediately react in such kind of climate-induced calamities, because they are the first tier who can immediately respond to rescue and provide relief to the people and to minimize the losses, not in terms of precious lives, but in terms of assets as well.
All right. Dr. Shahid, I'll come to you, and I have a question that has two parts to it, and I'd like your point of view on that, your, of course, specialized point of view on that. First of all, the NDMA warns that rainfall might increase by 22% next year. How prepared is Pakistan's infrastructure to withstand more destructive floods? Do you feel, this is the second part of my question, do you feel Pakistan should integrate climate resilient urban planning and sustainable infrastructure into its national development agenda, foreseeing what could happen in the coming years?
With this expected 20% increase in rainfall, and we should also be reading it together with the possibility of the same kind of climate in our neighboring country. And they also release their sort of water from their dams and their system to the three rivers that we are now seeing in flood in Ravi and Satluj. So our planning should be looking at the holistic picture First, as I mentioned before, that NDMA is in a position now to go for a long-term planning for all these rivers, even the eastern rivers, which are normally have no water in the normal years. But as we expect more rains, we will expect more flow in those rivers also. So there are some encroachment within the river beds that we need to take care of before the next season. That's a very important point in all tributaries, rivers, wherever we see, even in Islamabad and around. These kind of urban floods also come because we are narrowing down the water passages with our urban peak, or what would we can say, no, or urban planning in where the cities are extending on the agricultural areas and nearby drainage systems. Second, in urban flooding, we also need to focus on the whole planning of the whole city as for the drainage. Instead of having some sort of a partial improvements and building of drainage in some areas of the city, and then that fails to look at the overall system that needs to be in place in the small and the large
System
cities.
needs to be in place that should be compliant with the upcoming damages that could happen in case of the increase in rainfall in the upcoming years, as the chairman NDMA has aptly warned. And I think that's extremely important. Thank you very much, Dr. Shahid Zia Saab, to have joined us, CEO RBDC Pakistan, joining us all the way from the United Kingdom. All right, coming to you, Sherazi Saab. Now, considering the loss of around 800 lives this year alone, as has been indicated by the chairman NDMA, what should we do to improve our early warning systems and local preparedness?
Well, on one hand, we say that there is no direct solution to climate-induced calamities because it's natural activity, and we can not totally undo the natural activity on the globe. But on the other hand, yes, we can minimize the losses with minimum possible preparations, with very cost-effective activities. Like you have mentioned two of them, that we can promote the locally effective early warning system. As we have just recently observed that the early warning by some of the herders in the glacial area has saved not only a complete village, but minimized the asset losses as well, because people were evacuated in time from there, and there were at least no life lost in that incident. So with this regard, I think that we'll have to focus on our local capacity to anticipate and issue early warning system at the local level. On the other hand, we'll also have to have a district level capacity to respond to any disasters, to evacuate timely, not only to raise early warning to the people, but to evacuate them and to help them if they are trapped in an emergency, because it is the first tier which can respond in minimum possible time. And here is the point where internationally the response to any disaster starts.
The international response is extremely important, and under the current circumstances, the responsibility, the onus of responsibility on the international bodies becomes even more paramount. Thank you very much for this segment, to have given us your input. Coming to the next role, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Gaza and not the number of casualties that keeps on increasing, but the number of people who are starving to death that has surpassed 300. Can you imagine that at a time that so many people could die of starvation, of nothing else, not by the butchering, not by the killing, incessant killings of the people of the Israeli forces, and those who are being injured and displaced by also the occupiers from Israel, who are trying their level best to forcefully displace as many people as possible from Gaza and from the occupied West Bank. To discuss that and more, we've also been joined by two guests. Dr. Jasim Anwar Saab, foreign affairs expert, joins us in the studio. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. And our dear brother Usama Muhammad Nazzal joins us all the way from Jenin. He's online with us. Usama, brother, thank you very much to have joined us. We'll begin with you, Dr. Jasim. 303 people plus have died of starvation. since October the 7th, including 117 children, died of starvation. I need to emphasize on this fact. How does the United Nations official declaration of famine that is it has talked about, and how does this also challenge the denial by Israel? It says that Hamas is lying, Palestine is lying when it says that people are dying of starvation.
Well, it is so unfortunate, I must say that on the face of the earth, we are looking into such a catastrophe, being made by someone who is backed by a number of forces and denying the basic human rights, the starvation. You see, where there are a number of UN agencies, there are a number of international bodies who are willing and are on ground support and requesting them to provide food and shelter to these atrocities. Yet at the same front, it is the height of, I can say, this menace which the Israel right now is doing on the people of Gaza. UN, a number of its declarations, a number of fronts, a number of conventions, time and again at various international fronts raised this concern, yet at the same time it is being ignored by Israeli authorities time and again. Pakistan continued to support this dialogue and raise this voice on the international fronts, the diplomatic solution, or to that extent, whatever is possible, at least at the humanitarian front, not to let those who can live, at least to provide basic services, basic food and health. You must be aware of those attacks that recently happened on those aid providers.
Yes.
I mean, this is very unfortunate.
Even journalists that are being now targeted,
Exactly,
left, right and center.
This is highly unfortunate, and we strongly condemned, and UN is again condemning, and probably soon they will call up another council for this, taking this voice again.
The UN can call it as many times as again, but then there is the veto power,
Exactly.
the power of the veto that certain countries exert. Osama, my dear brother, more than 62,000 people have been killed, around 63,000 if I'm not wrong, because the number keeps on increasing by the minute, by the hour. The number of those who've been injured has exceeded 158,000. This is just the official figure, the tip of the iceberg figure. To add to that, the people dying by starvation, the people in the hospital saying that they are in no position to help those who are starving to death, and they are even not able to provide the basic health necessities to the people. It just breaks my heart. Where are we going to as as a global humanitarian body of nations that cries foul whenever a small community is hit by anything, but does not do much when it comes to thousands and thousands of people who are being butchered left, right, and center?
Yeah, that is the policy, that is the system of the state of occupation. Israel, since the start of its genocide war against the Palestinian people in Gaza, declared that it's going to empty Gaza of its indigenous citizens using different ways. And the first way that failed was bombing all the Palestinian territory, including the housing units, the hospitals, the schools, the United Nations facilities. But the people held on to Gaza, held on to the soil of their land, and persisted and showed their steadfastness and audacity. Now Israel moved to another way of genocide, which is the starvation or the famine coupled with bombing and rocketing of the people. And so the people in Gaza die either of Israeli bombardment or of starvation. In addition to that, Israel is attacking the people even when they are wounded. As just yesterday, we also have the Israeli warplanes bombed Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, killing over 20 Palestinians, including 5 journalists and a number of the civil defense staffers. So Israel is employing all the brutal and all the evil methods in order to achieve its end target. And its end target is the decimation of the Palestinians in Gaza and to have Gaza empty of its indigenous people. Now, concerning the international community, really we got bored of talking about the position of the international community, as it takes it 2 years to stop the genocidal war, and it fails to do that.
I totally agree with you on that. And I don't know where things are moving, where the global bodies are, getting together in order to. I mean, I see the reaction, Brother Osama, as far as the world bodies are concerned when it comes to the forceful displacement of people from the north of Gaza to the south of Gaza, trying to occupy it through any hooks, sink, and trying to push people, kill people so that they can leave the place and they can occupy it. And then the E1 settlement in occupied West Bank, which a lot of countries are now, of course, reacting to a lot. The 21 country statement that came as far as the E1 settlement is concerned in the occupied West Bank, will it have any effect, or will it just remain a statement?
What's happening in the West Bank is very dangerous these days, Brother Omar. Just 3 hours ago, the Israeli occupation forces attacked the Palestinian city of Ramallah. Ramallah is the seat of the Palestinian government, and it is the political capital of Palestine. As all the institutions and all the bodies of the Palestinian Authority, to some extent, are founded in Ramallah. The Israeli forces stormed into Ramallah and stormed into the stores and different institutions, and they injured the 21 Palestinians as the Palestinians tried to express their opposition to this very inhumane act by the Israeli forces and pelted the Israeli forces with the stones. They injured the 21 Palestinians and they detained another number. That shows the clear message that Israel has to the Palestinian Authority, to the Palestinian people, and to all the world that supports the two-state solution, that even in the seat of the Palestinian government, in the city of Ramallah, Israel proves its control and its existence as if it wants to say to the world that nobody and no authority has any control over the Palestinian territories but the Israeli occupation government.
All right, Osama, I mean, my heart beats with, as do all the hearts of our Pakistani brothers and sisters, that beat with the hearts of the Palestinian brothers and sisters that are, undergoing the severe torture and are being maimed left, right and center by the Israeli forces. We continue to support you and will continue to support you and be by your side in whichever capacity and howsoever we can. Stay strong, that is all we can say. You, all of you, stay in our prayers always 5 times a day. Thank you very much, Brother Osama, to have joined us. Mr. Jasim, I'd like to also talk about how the different communities across the world are reacting. There's one particular incident that caught my mind, and that was Reuters correspondent and Canadian photojournalist Valerie Zink, who has resigned following all that is happening, and she exposes the complicity of major Western media outlets in shaping narratives that justify Israel's actions against journalists in Gaza. What's your take on that?
Well, you see, you're all aware of the relationship between what is there in US-based medias and with Israel, and how the media is portraying certain atrocities and some actions which are not justified by, portraying in a way that, this is something against the terrorist, or, something like, against the Hamas, and for that matter. So this is the least that a journalist of that stature she can do, and this is one act of, I think, a bravery and a courage that demonstrate that it is clearly violation of the number of basic human rights, and the media transparency also hinders in this bringing the real picture to the people. So definitely, I mean, this is not what it should be. And international medias, other than those who are somehow influenced by the US and these Israeli policies, we believe, and like the Jazeera, you can see, I mean, how they are giving the true picture. So yes, it's unfortunate, this is what we can say, and UN is not playing their role, as you mentioned. If you recall last time I mentioned, the true role where it can play a very significant role in making this control.
Well, let's hope better sense prevails. I have been saying this phrase time and time over and over again, better sense prevails. I literally hope better sense prevails, or some divine power helps the people in Palestine, because the way things are moving, I don't know what's going to help those who are currently being butchered left, right and center, being displaced from their places where they have been staying since decades and decades, and being usurped by those who are forcefully taking their place and are forcefully trying to become citizens of an area that does not belong to them. Our next story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the US tariffs. Now, Pakistan is in a very safe position, and we are of course inking new deals with the US as well, but there are certain countries that are not in that favorable a position when it comes to the US, and particularly we have our eastern neighbor India in that context. Now, the US is moving to change the tariff percentage from 25% to 50%. Starting from 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the 27th of August, which will be around maybe in about 12 to 18 hours time, that this new 50% tariff is going to come into effect. This of course follows the US President Donald Trump's executive order 1433/29 that was signed earlier this month. We will again ask Jasim Saab to give us his point of view on that, but before that we have Sherazi Saab, Sherazi Saab, who is waiting very patiently and was since some time, as we were asking the guests to Osama and Jasim Saab, how significant is this decision to raise the tariff imports to 50%? We knew that was happening. We thought some kind of consideration might happen in between, but to date, when a few hours are left, this is actually going to take place in less than 24 hours, let's put it that way. What immediate impact is this going to have on India's export-driven sectors like IT, like pharmaceuticals, like textiles? A lot of people are crying foul in India.
Well, Omar Khalid, there has been a long history in the world for using tariffs and non-tariff barrier as strategic partnership tool and as a weapon to bring the other country on knees and bilateral ties. But this time, US has taken a concrete decision while taking the tariffs on Indian import to up to 50%. Which will certainly have a large effect on certain areas, as you have mentioned. The 20% of the Indians' foreign exchange comes from export to US, and the majority of the sectors are IT, the pharmaceuticals, the dry food items, and rest of the things, the textile itself and the garment industry as well. So, not only these industries would be feeling a depression and there would be loss of jobs within India, but India's foreign reserves would certainly be under a great depression, and the competitiveness of India being an exporter with the rest of the countries of the world would certainly be immediately affected.
All right. My last question as far as this is concerned, Jasim Saab, is twofold. Firstly, this executive order 14329, do you feel that it is a method to indirectly push New Delhi for its defense or energy ties with Russia, especially in the wake of the Ukraine conflict? Also, what does this bode about the future trajectory of the US-India ties?
Well, look at the broader picture. While this is partially true that tariff, like my colleague is saying, is a weapon as well as a cooperation source, and US indirectly targeting Russia through imposing 25% tariff as a reciprocal tariff, but additional 25% as penalty tariff actually. And the penalty is basically on the oil that the US has already imposed sanctions on those countries, or tariffs on those countries who are importing oil from Russia.
Because India is not only importing it, it's also exporting it, selling it to other countries once it refines that oil.
Exactly, it's a bilateral thing. While in addition to that, you must be aware of BrahMos S40 deal, S400 with Russia and India, which basically is on the defense and missile program. And in spite of sanctions, the India continues to promote and doing the development on that. That's another indication that US is indirectly indicating India, to
to
abstain
change
from
its foreign office or its foreign relations or
Exactly.
its maneuvering vis-a-vis Russia, vis-a-vis those countries that the US is not really happy about, because on the one hand India is part of the Quad, and on the other hand it is doing whatever it is doing as being part of other important regional platforms as well. I'd like to thank both of my guests. My producer says we're short of time. Thank you very much, Sherazi. Thank you very much, Dr. Jasim Anwar Sahab, to have come all the way to the studios to discuss various aspects of what is going on across the world. Last three stories very, very quickly. The first concerns Pakistan that is going to exhibit historical artifacts at the SCO summit in Tianjin in China. That is going to be a few days' time. And of course, our Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif is going to represent Pakistan as well. Under the theme of respecting diverse civilizations, pursuing common development, this exhibition will invite national museums of SCO members to send representative objects to attend the exhibition. The relics that will be include the Indus Bull seal, astrolabe, and several pieces depicting the Buddha that Pakistan will be showcasing. Next, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province has witnessed more polio cases. 2 more polio cases have been seen recently in KPK, and this has been confirmed by the NIH in Islamabad. This makes the number of polio cases in Pakistan increase to 23 in the year 2025 alone. Pakistan has time and again it's doing so many polio programs to give the administered polio drops to the children below the age of 5, and that is what the parents where the parents come in, and they also need to do the needful to cooperate with all of these polio teams that go from house to house to give those polio drops. Please accommodate them and please give your children the polio drops so that we can witness less number of cases or even zero number of cases as the Pakistan government wants. Lastly, Elon Musk, the CEO of X, has now sued OpenAI and Apple over monopoly claims. He has filed this suit, he asserting that the two companies are engaged in a monopolistic collaboration which is putting his own AI chatbot Grok at a competitive disadvantage. This is what he is claiming. Of course, there have been counter claims by both Apple and OpenAI as well, but this is a war that is now entering the AI arena, and the players are very strong. Apple is there, OpenAI is there with ChatGPT, and of course now Elon Musk with Grok, all popular platforms and all vying for the top slot. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of today's Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories said by pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.